Hello, welcome back live to Le Mans here on Eurosport 2 as we cover the 24 hours of Le Mans throughout our network across Europe and Asia. Welcome, you're looking at the second place car in the race. This is Pedro Lami's number 7 Peugeot. Still trying to close on race leader Franck Montagny, but a couple of quick laps 3 and 4 from Pedro. Once he got by Alain McNish, not enough to close enough on Montagny, but just enough to wake the Frenchman up. And Montagny now lapping his last lap, 3 minutes 27.3, Pedro 3:27.9. So Mark Cole and Liz Halliday. Liz, it looks like they put in some 3:25 laps to get clear of Audi, and now perhaps are settling into a mid to low 27s up towards 28-second lap as a genuine race-long pace.
Which is actually, it's an incredible time to be doing as a race pace. If we look at only just maybe 3 years ago, our pole time was around about a 3 minutes 30. So this is incredible to be doing a 27 as a casual race pace. Well, not casual, but it's a comfortable pace for them, we have to say, based on their qualifying time.
Yeah, this is not going to please the ACO, is it? Because they're still after 3:30 as the optimum race lap, and they're 5 seconds below that at the moment. At last, here we are.
Yeah.
It's the Gulf colours. How evocative. Steve McQueen, Gulf Porsches. Eat your heart out. Here's Stefan Mucker at the wheel of the Lola Aston Martin Gulf, and it just works so well, this, doesn't it? It looks absolutely beautiful, this car. Audi, of course, as well, really pushing hard. Just a quick mention here, if we may. Martin and Teresa Pass, who run Audi UK's press service, their daughter Sarah's just flown back in from Naples, Florida this morning. We know you're at home, Sarah, and Mum and Dad send all the best. So do we. Keep watching, and we're rooting for you with along with Audi and everyone. So there we go.
And a big year here for Aston Martin to be here with 3 prototype race cars back at the front of the grid. It's their 50. It would be their 50th anniversary. Well, to wait if they could win this weekend. It is the 50th anniversary. Let me just correct myself. It is of when Aston Martin won the race overall. But Aston would love to win it here today. But I think they'll have a battle to try and get past all those diesels.
And while you're talking about Aston, let's give a shout for Lola at Huntingdon. All the guys are there. They built the car. Remember, they built the chassis part of it. There's been a little bit of controversy between Martin Brain of Lola and David Richards of ProDrive over what the car should be called. But we're not going down that route,
but
as
an
Martin
incredible
said.
chassis.
Yeah, but a great chassis. Well done everyone in Huntingdon. Well done everyone at ProDrive in Banbury. Great car you've got.
Lola's still building a fantastic car. Always have. It was my favourite car to drive at Le Mans, so I can't hope to drive the coupe one day.
We are hearing that we may have our first retirement of the race. It looks as though we are about to lose the J-Lock Lamborghini, which well, frankly, probably most people have done more laps of the circuit in their road car than the Japanese Lamborghini Owners Club machine managed to do. The Murcielago did no flying laps in qualifying or in the pre-race test, and Marco Apicella and the crew are not, it seems, going to continue in the race. They have an engine problem. They had a drive shaft go on Wednesday on the outlap, and it took until Thursday to get one driven down from Reiter Engineering in Germany, or up or across, or whichever way it was. So, well, they didn't have any luck. They didn't even really get as far as having bad luck with that car. So looks as though the J-Lock Lamborghini, we've lost our first car. Still the GT battle. Jaime Melo leading in GT2 from Mark Lieb, Patrick Long, Jörg Bergmeister and Christophe Bouchou. Bouchou, the man in the field with more starts than anyone else except David Brabham, we believe, both with 15 getaways here at Le Mans.
And we're just starting to see our first few regular routine pit stops starting. We've just seen one of the Lola Aston Martins come through.
Yeah, that was Bellici coming in, wasn't it? I think he stayed on board. Most people are going to be triple stinting here. But Liz, the ACO has been working so hard on equivalency between all the classes, and have they not got it right here in GT2? Look at that, the 4 cars all tied together by a piece of string. This is just so perfectly matched.
It is incredible, and with so many strong drivers in GT2, I mean, this is bound to be one of the closest races we've ever had in that class. It's very possible, especially with the battle between Ferrari and Porsche. I think it's going to be right to the wire in that class, and every one of them is going to have to be going absolutely flat out the entire way. It's going to be interesting to see who trips up.
Now, one of the features of this year, Mark, in terms of what goes on in the pit lane, is that instead of being allowed to have 4 people changing tyres on a car, we now are only allowed 2. So the teams have worked on choreography to try and make sure they still get the pit stops done as quickly as possible. Down in the pit lane, one of the Ginetta Zytek LMP2 cars is in, but we saw there the Peugeot team helmeted up, and of course it has always been heart of the battle before, that Audi have been better at pit stops, particularly driver change pit stops. While the fuel's going in, you can clean the windscreen, the drivers can do their change, everyone else is stood ready, and then one air gun and 2 men for the tyre stop.
You can't, but you can. That's a restriction, but you can have different people doing each side. But
you can only have 2 people over the line at one time.
At one time, exactly.
Until the tyres are completed. Once the tyres are completed, you can have.
It's academic at this stage, because Peugeot, like Audi, are planning to triple stint as long as the tyres hold out. When we get to the night, Liz, Audi's talking about 4 stints on the set of tyres.
Well, I think certainly with this new rule, a lot of teams are going to be wanting to keep the tyres on as long as they can to avoid any mistakes, because you know the way it's been for so many years has been 4 people on the car doing the tyres, so that will be what people are used to. So with this new strategy, I think a lot of people are saying, well, it's quicker to leave the tyres on.
If you're going to do a driver change, Joe, you might as well change your tyres at the same time.
If you need to, I think. If you need to, it depends. If you can,
you don't lose any time then, do you?
Well, if you can do a driver change within your fuel window, then it doesn't matter. I know certainly Drayson Racing is thinking of doing singles all the way up until the night, because they've said we can do our driver change within the fuel window. It's absolutely no worries. We'll just jump in and out to our liking. So it really depends on that.
Yeah. Plus, also, of course, in the particular case of the Drayson Aston Martin, they're not expecting, and indeed are not, running right at the front of GT2. No. So for them, it's about getting the mileage, finishing the race.
Yes.
And the best way to do that is with a fresh car and fresh drivers. Here, though, 1, 2, 3, 4 GT2 cars. I mean, this could be a 4-lap sprint race, really, couldn't it? Because there is just nothing between them. Even the LMP2 class leaders are having trouble getting through. That was the Go Porsche. Cut down pit road comes Stefan Ortelli. Fuel and good to go, no tyre changes. And of course, all the teams want to double or triple stint the tyres if they can, and that's not lost on the tyre manufacturers. They know what the rules have been changed for, and Michelin always working like all the other tyre companies to try and give their tyres grip and durability. And we do believe in the night when it's cool and the track is less abrasive, that we should perhaps see 4 stints on tyres for the prototype cars, which is 4 13-lap stints at Le Mans, which is a very, very long way.
This is amazing, isn't it? This is like a Porsche Super Cup race. The only problem is it's a Ferrari leading it. Luca Di Montezemolo would be absolutely delighted at the moment. This is why he's here this year. A red Ferrari.
The interesting thing is we have this incredible battle going on in GT2, but we've got 4 classes of racing going on at once. So not only are they all packed together, but keep in mind the other classes must get around them. In this traffic, from experience, when they're racing that hard, they are concerned about themselves and who's in front of that group. They're not worrying that much about the traffic. So, you know, it is the overtaking car's responsibility to get by safely, and that makes it a bit tricky when there's a battle going on within one class.
Pat Long looking to get past Mark Lieb now. It's the second time he's got alongside him. Can he do it again on that long run down to the first chicane?
You can believe Pat Long will find a way if there is one.
Well, looking at small capacity motorcycle racing, the guy on the back of the aerodynamic train is always the best off, and so that's the 80 Flying Listens car of Jörg Bergmeister, another fully fledged factory Porsche driver. He'll be looking to pass 2 or 3 of them in a line if he can. Frank Montagny, our race leader on pit road, so too Pedro Lamy, both Peugeots in on the same lap. So now what they're doing is just double checking, because we lost all of Wednesday to rain. Thursday was only 4 hours of running. They have got to double, triple check their fuel consumption. For the first couple of stops they will go conservative. If they think they can do 13, they'll come in on 12. If they think, contact! No. The Peugeot and the Pescarolo Peugeot get together. Car number 7.
That's happened now.
Pedro Lamy and Jules Bouillon. The Pedro Lamy car released as the Pescarolo car came into the pit lane. That's a mistake by the team.
There'll be a drive-through for that.
For whom?
Yeah, for the team which released the car into the path of another one.
So Pedro Lamy is unlikely now to win this race. Those are the differences that win or lose the race. See, now Lamy knew there was something going on, because he could see the Pescarolo man running towards him. In fact, that wasn't Lamy's on board, was it? That was Montagny's on board, and Lamy with a puncture.
Yeah.
That's it, race over. Well, this is so often the case we've seen with Audi when it's been all about Audis. The first Audi to have a problem, they pretty much know they're not going to win the race, even if Audi do.
And Liz, he's got to run 12 kilometres like this now.
It's a very long way, and you know, once you've got a puncture like that, you must be careful not to go too fast. You can start destroying bodywork. He'll be down to almost 30 kilometres an hour in that, possibly. It's a very long way.
for the number 17 Peugeot. This is the Pescarolo on Peugeot. Henri Pescarolo overseeing that car himself. There's not going to be very much, that there'll be no tyre left, and what he has to do now, Liz, is balance getting back quickly, not losing much time, with trying in the next 8 miles not to let the flailing carcass of the tyre rip off the turbocharger, the intercooler, the oil lines, the fuel lines, the everything behind the driver.
When this happens, especially at Le Mans, you have a long way to go. The hardest thing is keeping your patience. You must just keep telling yourself, if I go too fast, the race could be over, or it will be longer in the pits. You have to do the math in your own head and say, I'm just going to have to wait.
New GT leader, and it's Patrick Long. He's jumped 2 of them.
I said he was going to do it, and he did it a lap later. Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Wow. So, a lot of drama. The Pescarolo car is in the pit lane.
Yeah. Quite a lot of damage to that car as well.
Now we have to say that happened already once before as well, in practice or in the warm-up even, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a clash in the pit lane in the warm-up.
It's happened to me before at Le Mans as well. I mean, it is something that happens, and it shows how much the team has just got to get it right when they let you go, because as a driver, you're watching your crew chief, you're not watching what's behind you, you're focusing on them telling you what to do.
Oh, look, it's all coming to bits now, losing its bodywork. Look, it's all scattered down the straight.
This is a disaster for Peugeot.
As the Pescarolo team continue to try and fix the front nose back onto the car, there you can see what we're seeing on our other monitors now. That is the car going down the straight, and that tyre is just ripping everything apart. With a normally aspirated car, there's not so much you can do damage to, but of course with these cars, turbochargers, intercoolers, all the extra paraphernalia of the turbo diesel, it's ripping the bodywork off, the brake lines, the fuel lines, the oil lines. In the end, suspension, everything. I mean, it will just destroy.
I'm very surprised he's not slowed down a lot more than that.
We're not going to get a safety car for all this, Liz. Look at the debris.
We must. We have to. This is so dangerous. I mean, look at these. The marshals are running out in the road with cars going flat out.
Absolutely. There you go.
Now that's all carbon fibre shards.
Yeah, it's carbon fibre, it's bits of rubber, it's a disaster. I mean, look at these, the car's doing his best to get around it.
Lola Aston Martin
He's done well to weave through that, he's done very well.
Safety car is out, we're told safety car is out.
Yes, and the reason is, in the in the cartoons, when Dick Dastardly threw lots of tin tacks out of the back to puncture his rivals' tyres, that's exactly what all those bits of carbon fibre do. Not the big stuff, although they've got razor sharp edges, it's all the fibres that get splintered off when it gets broken. It will be like a bed of needles.
Now this is going to be great news for Peugeot potentially, because with a safety car at least it's going to slow the entire field down, so if he can get that car back in, he's not going to lose quite as many laps as he might have.
This is our race leader, Alan McNish, so you see immediately how pit stops change things. The Audi's coming in, this is after 12 laps, the Peugeots came in after 10 and 11, and that might be significant. Guaranteed Audi will have kept at least 1 lap in reserve just in case, beyond their reserve tank, so we know that they will go 13, and we maybe might see them go 14. McNish, Rockenfeller, they were first and second when they came onto pit road, and they are taking tyres. And why are they taking tyres? A, because they've got time to stay behind the safety car, and B, so they don't get a puncture on their outlap from all the rubbish they picked up on the way down the Mulsanne.
Yeah.
Well spotted, Martin, well spotted, yes, and they're doing it because they can, of course. So here we go again, this is the moment. Oh, look at that, he just caught him right
into the tyre
into the tyre, yeah. Oh, I think it's done more damage than even that, hasn't it? The suspension may well be broken.
Quite hard.
Yeah,
that's a disaster. So, I mean, it's so difficult because it's not even been done on the circuit. I mean, it's purely just an error of when he was released. You know, the car.
Having done that, was there no possibility they could have stopped immediately and pulled the car back? Can you not pull a car backwards down the pit lane? Or
you can pull a car backwards. You can't drive it backwards.
No, but you could. I mean, if he'd stopped straight away, he could have done that.
So safety cars are out on the track. We have 3 safety cars at the moment because of the length of the circuit to pick up, well, as you can see here, the GT2 not quite leader. Olivier Canel of Peugeot Sport, let's hear from him.
Olivier, une image incroyable. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé?
Il y a eu un misfit.
What happened?
Je vais rentrer un tour plus tard, en tout cas c'est ce qu'on avait compris. Et
misunderstanding between the teams.
Elle est rentrée au moment où l'autre redémarrait, enfin celle de Pedro. Et voilà.
Of course, when the car came in, there was a collision, little touch between the two of them. We've seen that there's a puncture, obviously, and unfortunately he has to do the entire lap of the track before he can get back. We'll lose a huge amount of time. It's a real shame for him. Still 2 cars, of course, going and looking very quick.
Je pense qu'elles sont aussi rapides que nous. Là, pour l'instant, on n'a pas.
What do you think that the Audi challenge will be?
Tout peut arriver,
It's very difficult to say at the moment. It's possible that anything could happen, as we've already seen.
Rien n'est fini, mais
Peugeot will keep the pressure on. This is never going to be an easy race to win, but we will do everything we can. And the telling last comment there from Olivier Canelmark, we must not penalise ourselves.
No, but they've got an even bigger problem. There's a turbo hanging off that Peugeot. We just saw it in that slow close-up shot there. This is a disaster. We got one wounded Audi, one wounded Peugeot, and we're not yet we're just 45 minutes now into this race.
This will be a long haul for Peugeot, and I think they'll have a lot more repairs to do than even we can see or imagine at the moment.
Never mind a long haul for Peugeot. How are we going to hold up? We haven't even got to hour one. There's another 23 of this to go.
Exhausted.
The GT2s are certainly going to keep us entertained.
We've barely even scraped the surface of LMP2 as well. That's going to be, well, Crucial and Motorsport have started the catalogue of disasters. We've seen our GT1 leaders on pit road. The third and fourth place cars of GT1 come down pit road as well, as also does the Team Go Porsche RS Spider, which is in second time in the GT class, and still that car, well, actually now it won't do any more damage because there is nothing left bar the rim, but he's got to try not to drop it off. Look at that, the turbo hanging down, all the intercoolers and everything, and the entire GT field comes down the pit road as one man. There's never any question, is there? No matter what else happens in the middle of the race, we're less than an hour in, safety cars out, of course, everyone pitting, and everyone will take tyres because of all that debris. There's no point in taking any chances.
No, surely they will.
If you had a road car that you knew would do over 200 miles an hour and you thought you'd just driven over a broken bottle, you would not be continuing at 200 miles an hour. You'd be stopping to have a damn good look. I don't think these guys are any less clever than we are.
Exactly. And he's actually, Frank Montagnier is going very quickly on this car, I have to say, having just a rim hanging off the side. He's trying to get back into the pits while it's still under safety car.
Do they have a drive, get your home drive system on the transmission like they do on the
I would have thought they would. Well, yeah, I mean, I would have thought they'd probably have like a throttle jacker if you need it, but in this case, he'll just be driving.
It'll be on three wheels in the floor.
Yeah, we remember last year Amanda Stretton when she crashed the Chamberlain.
That's different, I believe, because
she got the car back on three wheels, one which wasn't a driven wheel.
Well, certainly in the Lolas, you used to have to lock the diff yourself physically, which is quite difficult because you had to take the entire back of the car off, which for one person is an incredible feat. And you had to go in and actually lock the diff physically yourself in order to drive it home on three. Obviously, you know, that's not the case here.
Oh, what a mess.
Oh, what a disaster. That's going to be a long
The only thing that we're going to see is if this car reappears. It will go up on its jacks, it will go into the garage, and they will, as coolly and calmly as they can, try and basically build the car ready to start the race.
Cool and calm Peugeot?
They'll have to.
It's a new Peugeot, isn't it?
There's no point throwing yourself at it in a flurry of arms and spanners. That's not helping.
Now let's just look at the logistics of this. What did Peugeot do? They took a fourth car and gave it to Andy Pescarolo to win. So they've still got three frontline cars in the running.
Actually,
Audi
in fairness, they've only got two in the top 18. Both this car and the Pescarolo car have plunged out of the top 20, so they're down to two. Audi are down to two and a bit.
The Pescarolo car just got caught in the safety car. I think that was why that was.
So, more drama to come, no question. We're approaching the end of the first hour here at Le Mans, not the last. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Le Mans with Eurosport. You can just see at the wheel of car number 9. We were told Alex Wurz, looks like Marc Genet, it said on the helmet. The car coming back in. It was the first Peugeot to stop after 9 laps. And the reason it's come back in is because it then had tyres on that had gone through all the debris of the explosion of the number 7 Peugeot's rear end. So there you can see Pedro Lamy, and Pedro looking very hot and bothered, Mark. We're going to try and get a quick word with him. Safety car will be released at the end of this lap.
Pedro, just incredible. What happened exactly?
Well, I started and was another car coming and touch and make me a puncture. So I had to give one lap and come back.
You couldn't stay in the pit and come back from the pit.
Yeah, but I realized quite late, and I didn't know that that I was a puncture. I didn't realize straight away.
Okay. Do you know if you saw him and he cut, or you didn't even saw?
No, we're just concentrate on lollipop, and we go when the lollipop goes up.
Okay, thank you, Pedro.
Thank you.
Well, Mark, clearly in these cars, like in Formula One cars, you can't look over your back shoulder. It mirrors signal manoeuvre as if you're pulling out of an acute junction. The only thing the driver can see is out in front of him. The only thing he can see is the man that's waving the arm going, go, go, go. There's no chance that a driver will have the faintest idea what's coming up pit road behind him. It is all down to the man that's controlling him on the pit road. And obviously you want to let them go as quickly as possible. Obviously every second counts. But tempered with that, you have to bear in mind that these things, collisions, can so easily happen.
Yeah, Pedro may not have even known he'd been touched. You know, when you're under power, going back out as quickly as you can, just a slight tap like that. Remember, these have got sharp end plates, these cars. It's just enough to cut the car. Well, we're going to hear from Henri Pescarolo in a minute.
Hopefully in a moment or two. The car is, you can see Pesca's car there on track leading the group. Safety cars are about to be brought back in at the end of this lap, so that will be deigned as when the start line safety car again returns to the start line. The other two safety cars will return to their own positions. Let's hear from Henri Pescarolo in just a second.
Henri, il y a eu une petite mésentente. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé exactement?
Little misunderstanding, Henri. Henri, what happened? A huge misunderstanding. Too many photographers. It's very hard for the team to see what's coming in pit road. Jean-Christophe trying to avoid the photographers. He didn't even see the other car moving. We had no chance of stopping.
J'ai l'impression qu'ils sont décalés d'un tour par rapport à ce qui était prévu.
Unfortunately,
est-ce que votre voiture est très abîmée?
Non, c'est juste la
Peugeot decided at the very last moment to come in on the same lap as us, and unfortunately we now have had to work on both the cars. Both cars have lost a lot of time, ours and theirs. It's a real shame.
Il n'y a pas de changement de stratégie, comme vous aviez vu, on avait adopté un rythme.
Well, Henri saying we don't want to change the strategy. Now, of course, we've got to work on the car. A lot of racing yet to go, and who knows what might happen, but we will stay with our strategy and keep focused and try and win the race for Peugeot. And of course, Pesca, 3 times himself a winning driver, Mark, 33 starts as a driver, and still after, what, a decade, I guess, looking for that elusive first win as a team owner.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of his best chances this year, but how embarrassing. You know, you and Peugeot running together, and it's 2 of your cars that neighbouring team cars that collide.
As far as Henri is concerned, it's a big problem, but it's not his problem because it was not his car that was released by his team onto into the pit road.
And they've also said that they did at the last minute decide to bring the car in on the same lap as the other, when originally I suppose they were going to wait.
There's your friends down at Creation. This is Vanina Ix just about to take the car out of the garage, and it's been back in the garage for a few minutes. Jamie Campbell-Walter was saying that they've worked really hard to try and sort out an awful porpoising and imbalance problem on the car, and now it's comfortable, but obviously being in the garage inside the first hour for any time means that they are going to have a lot of work to do. Peugeot and Pesca, though, Olivier Canel and Henri Pescarolo, with more than a few thoughts each, I'm sure, on what should be done next. It's impossible to blame photographers and the media. I mean, you know, if you don't want us here, we won't come, but then nor will anybody else, manufacturers first of all and everybody else. So yes, you need to try and make sure that the pit lane is safe, but again, the teams play at least as much a part in that as the photographers and the media do.
It's the easier plan, is just to blame the media, isn't it?
It's disingenuous of Henri. The ACO is so strict about media control here. No one can go out without fire suits. Everyone is so controlled. They only let people who know what they're doing out. So, sorry, Henri, don't go down that route.
We don't get roller skating Brazilian go-go dancers here, do we?
Oh, no, we don't.
That would be interesting.
No, all right, calm yourself down. Frank Montagnier and Marc Genet lead for Peugeot, and Alain McNish is third. Stefan Mucker in 007. Lola Aston Martin is fourth. And that is the battle between the other Audi and the 008, number 2 Mike Rockenfeller, and 008 is Darren Turner.
And a very, very close restart here. It's everybody piling in together.
Was that Rocky getting back in front of Stefan Mucker? I think that might have been Rocky having a bit of a canny restart. So he's right behind McNish, Rockenfeller, then Mucker and Turner. And Marc Genet in 6th position, in fact. He's not second. He was shown as second in the safety car queue, but he's not. He's down in 6th. So, Franck-Montagny's Peugeot leads by not very much, again from Alain McNish. Nearly an hour in, we've reset the entire race back to lap 1.
Yep, exactly, yes. It's gone back to default, as you said. But let's just have a look at the petrol runners then. As we said, in 5th place, Darren Turner in the Lola Aston. Bellici, great drive. Oh, we've got a straight on at
Team LMT, Janetta Zytek has gone off.
That is Richard, Richard Dean in the car.
It is still Richard Dean. Yeah. They are 31st.
Now, what this has all meant is that the LMP2s are starting to haul themselves up. Collard is leading LMP2, now 13th overall. Sergei Ara in the Navigo Porsche is in 15th, and Johnny Kane and Tommy Erdos still fighting their battle in 16th and 17th.
Yeah, they're not too far apart, are they? They're about 15 seconds behind Seiji Ara in that second Team Go Porsche. So the Team Go team, although we didn't see it, have had a driver change, so they may well be rotating their drivers, single stint, single stint, single stint.
Well, a lot of drivers do singles to begin with, just to make sure everybody gets in a car, just to make sure everybody's happy, they've got their fuel strategy right, all those things. So that may be the case with them, or they may be deciding to stay in singles. But I would have thought in a prototype car, you'll probably do doubles or triples, because the stints are not that long.
Well, of course, the Team Go team have got a rookie in the team as well, so they don't want to get him in, because otherwise, you know, if they're waiting 5 or 6 hours, then the first time they send him out, it's starting to get dusk, low light, and all of yada yada yada, the extra problems that we know. So on board car number 2, Mike Rockenfeller, and something on the front of Alain McNish's car. He's picked up some debris from somewhere, a bit of tyre it looks like. Lola Aston's 007, 008 line astern. You're looking at 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th at Le Mans.
Now this is an interesting concept. With this new design on the front of the Audi, that's what's allowed for a piece of debris like that to get stuck into the front of it, whereas with the old designs, such as we see in some Lolas and the other things, it's, you know, things would just fly over the top or maybe get stuck off to the side, but certainly not wedged into the front like it has in that Audi. So that, you know, I think that could be an interesting concept for the rest of the race. I'll have to see if that happens again. You know, there's lots of debris at Le Mans.
Certainly not slowing Alan. He's just done his personal second best second sector of the race.
Maybe there's a bit of an aero benefit
That's where all the debris was, in that second sector. It's certainly, if you're wondering where the sectors we're talking about are, Sector 1 is from the start to Tertre Rouge. Sector 2 is all the way down to Mulsanne Corner, and then Sector 3 is the long way home, all of 8 kilometres, 7 kilometres back from Mulsanne Corner to the finish.
And that's very nearly half a lap, as we see one of the Lola Astons having some really serious work done. This is 009. So real drama for this.
Now that's
and
the car that
7 car still in.
Now the 009 car had trouble with their gear shift this morning in warm-up. They were really struggling to down change initially and then to up change as well. So that could possibly be what they're dealing with now.
Now we're looking here at the Speedy Sabar Lola Coupe. Johnny Kane, I beg your pardon. No, that's not the 33 Speedy Sabar Lola Coupe, that's the LMP2 car. The Speedy Sabar's 13 car. Andrea Bellicchi was putting a move in on Christophe Tanso for 7th. So already Barton Hugh Hayden's team is well up inside the top 10 and knocking on the door of the top 6. And of course, we've had one Audi delayed, we've got one Peugeot still in the pit lane, so only, in fact 2 Peugeots delayed because the 17 car was delayed as well, but only the top 3 cars now are diesel engine cars. So already, somebody said earlier, I think we'll have a Lola Aston in the top 5. Well, at the moment we've got 2 in the top 5.
Yeah, in fact the Pescarola Peugeot Bouillon, that's pulling itself back up the order now. It's running some 21 seconds faster than the cars around it. It's in 19th and it's soon going to pull itself back up, I think.
Christophe Tanso just making his move, or trying to rather undo the move of Andrea Bellicchi. Bellicchi turning into something of a secret weapon in the Speedy Sabar Lola Coupe. Just rocketed through qualifying, pulled out a lap that frankly the rest of the team were just knocked over by. They thought, where on earth did that come from? And he's producing it in race pace as well. 3 minutes 33 is their best lap. The best petrol engine car, 3:30.1 for Darren Turner's 008. You're looking at the standings after 1 hour near as of the Le Mans 24 hours. Peugeot, Audi 1 and 2, then Aston Martin's 3rd and 4th. That's not actually correct, is it? We've got Peugeot, Audi, then Aston Martin's 4th and 5th on our current timing screen. So that was coming up to speed. So we are going to take a very quick commercial break on the other side of this while I go off for tea and tiffin. Jeremy Shaw will join the lineup with 1 hour of Le Mans gone. Already more stories to pick than we can possibly shake a stick at, and 23 hours more racing to continue. We'll be here live on Eurosport 2 until 7 p.m. tonight, when after the tennis from Queens we go back to International. Stay with us live on Eurosport as Audi continue to try and hold station. Second and third, Frank Montagne's Peugeot leads.
Welcome back to Eurosport live from Le Mans, and we're now looking at Peugeot leading Audi, and then Aston Martin Lola. Stefan Muck moving up into 4th place. So we're just going to go down, have a quick chat in the pits.
David Richards, thank you. It's a very good start for Aston Martin.
No, the 007, 008 are really pushing quite hard now, and we just have to see what happens if the other people seem to be having a few incidents out there. So, and of course our 009 car, we had a small problem there with the alternator pulley. There's an idler pulley which sees solid, and we've lost a lot of time with that car, unfortunately.
Yeah, we saw a lot of pressure between Audi and Peugeot, so maybe you can start to think of a podium if they're doing incident like that.
I don't think you think of anything after 1 hour in a 24-hour race, except 23 hours still to go.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's brief and to the point from David Richards. We're hoping we're going to be talking to him later on about his failed Formula 1 bid, along with Martin Brain of Lola. We'll be going to get both of those up later this evening, just here straight from the horses' mouths. And Jeremy Shaw joining us. Jeremy, what a start to the race then. Normally you get a bit of drama at the beginning, but to effectively lose a potentially winning Audi and a potentially winning Peugeot in the first hour, almost unheard of here.
Well, yeah, very disappointing, isn't it, for the fans here? And it's also kind of disappointing right now because with those two safety cars, we've now got the two leaders spread by almost half a lap. So Frank Montagny has got to sort of just set his own pace, which of course he was doing from the start of the race, but now, instead of having a couple of second margin or so over the second place car, now he's got almost 2 minutes. So he's going to be out on his own and threading his way through the traffic from the second of the safety cars. We've got a pretty useful battle going on there behind him. The two Audis are running basically 3 or 4 seconds a lap slower than the Peugeot, but as we saw in that first stint, the Audis were able to get one more lap before they came onto pit road to make their first fuel stops of the day. So really at this stage it's not really about pace, it's about strategy, because clearly Peugeot has the pace over the Audis, but if the Audis can eke out an extra lap at each pit stop, then that could be crucial too. So it's a real cat and mouse game at the moment, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, now Audi at the moment is still refusing to speculate on what caused the problem for Alex Kramer earlier on, but we had it straight from the horse's mouth as well. Romain Dumas, perhaps caught off guard by our interviewer, told us that Alex had been complaining of a power steering problem on that lap, and then he went off. And Liz, your guess would be probably had a sudden failure or just couldn't get the bite.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for us to speculate, isn't it? But certainly where it happened and the way the car reacted, it makes me wonder if perhaps he had a failure of his power steering mid-corner, which would have that happen. Obviously he then gets out on a bit of rubber that's on the side, the tyres pick that up, that sort of carries the car a bit further out in the understeer that we saw. So but certainly it wouldn't explain it going off then to carry on. So it's, well, Audi's not going to tell us straight away everything that's going on, are they? They're just going to do their best to fix it and try and keep it quiet. So,
but all this is making Lola Aston Martin look very good. Two of the Gulf cars, as we said there. Stefan
just
Mucker,
really seeing the traffic issues through there.
And look at this. Here they are. Here are the 4th and 5th place cars.
And what they're doing is they're working their way through the GT traffic, and that is a fantastic GT battle, isn't it? I don't know whether you were able to concentrate on that through that first stint. It was wonderful, wasn't it? I mean, swapping positions of those top 4 cars nose to tail before they came onto pit lane.
Yeah, it's really big battle going on there. And we were just saying how difficult that is. When there is a battle going on between the GT cars, it's very difficult to get around them as a prototype car, because they're very much focused on their own game and their own race, and it is your job to get around them. So when you get a lot of traffic involved in there, it's very tricky.
The two Audis, the second and third place cars, going past the earlier damaged Pescarola Peugeot of Bouillon there. Bouillon still stuck in 19th place. He was going a little bit slowly there. I think that problem's come back to haunt them, because his last lap was not that much quicker than the LMP2s around him. So just have to watch that space. They're still showing Marc Genet as ninth. Running in 5th place. Only one lap down. I think that's wrong, Liz. He lost the bundle.
Who's that?
Marc Genet.
He's on the same lap.
It's Pedro Lamy
it's Pedro Lamy that's lost it, number 7. And they have lost a huge amount of time. I'm not sure where they are.
We're just trying to find out where they are, but our timing screens at the moment only go down to 36th place. So
well, they will have lost quite a bit of time even before that safety car. I mean, they would have lost up to a lap just then, even, if not more.
But Marc Genet, certainly, as they're coming by here, that battle between the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh place cars, 8 seconds has been covering it after the safety car.
Yeah, and look at that, Montagny again, 1:29 last time around. He pulled out another 3.5 seconds over Alan McNish. So that's the pace of that Peugeot out in front really is very, very impressive.
He's about to dip into the 24s, isn't he? 25.106 on the.
Well, that was on lap 2.
He's on lap 2, but if he can get back down to that again, McNish then doing his job, just staying there. He's just keeping his eye on the cars in front, and Rockenfeller's staying with him as well. 0.384 seconds separating the Audis at the last lap. They're running in convoy. The 2 Aston Martin Lolas running in convoy.
They're running beautifully, aren't they? They sound so good, don't they?
Yeah, I think the question with those cars is going to be, reliability. Is there going to be, in the engine, especially because I know they've got a brand new engine for this race, which is very rare that happens, that you start with a new engine entirely for a race week. It's very, very rare. So it's not really been tested for 24 hours, certainly not in a car. They've not managed to have a run for 24 hours, as far as I know, in that engine.
We've got the RML P2 car coming onto pit lane, car number 25. They are looking like they're going to do a full service on the car. Can't imagine.
Well, why do they not have they made the stop yet?
They made a stop.
This is their second stop.
Yeah, on lap 11 they were in, so they've only done 4 or 5 laps since the safety car period. So that
there could be problems there.
They're changing the tyres. I spoke to Ray Malek just before the start. That car, I think we've talked about already, had an incident in the warm-up. Same problem that afflicted the Peugeots. In that one of the Aston Martin's 007 car was waved out of its pit stall just as Mike Newton was bringing the RML car on into his pit stall. Collision between the two, and it damaged the under tray on the number 25 RML P2 car. They changed the under tray. There's also a little bit of damage to a brand new intercooler that had been put on that car. They had a good look over it. There goes the P2 car, so that is rejoining the race, but they elected not to change the intercooler because it had been a brand new piece. And Ray Malek told me that there's a little bit of damage, but it's not in a pressurized section, so they're keeping their fingers crossed that will be okay.
Well, we're just hearing that Michael Vergers in the Virgo Motorsport Ferrari's got a stop-go penalty. We know he's the Flying Dutchman, but he overdid it in the pit lane, and he is going to get that stop-go penalty for speeding.
Now that's a lot of time to lose at Le Mans. I mean, it's such a long circuit, you really lose quite a bit of space there, having to come all the way in, stop and go. I mean, it's not something they want to be getting for something as silly as pit lane speeding. And all these cars will have a pit limiter on them, a pit limiter button that you push, and it keeps your speed down to the acceptable level. So I'm not sure, maybe he just forgot to put that limiter on in time, or perhaps let it go a little bit early.
So 71 Ks is what he's doing in the pit lane, and it's a 60k limiter.
It's 60, so it's quite a bit over. So it makes me wonder if maybe he's forgotten to push his pit limiter button, or
3 points and a £60 fine.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. It's not looking good on the licence, Virg.
That's exactly what they don't need, isn't it? But that GT2 battle has been tremendous through the first hour of the race. It's now, though, Patrick Long in the number 76 car, the Matmut Porsche. The IMSA car, IMSA performance team, has leading now. He's got about a 3-second lead over Jaime Mello, and the pit stops, the Risi car, Jaime Mello was a fabulous pit stop. They came out with a handy advantage, but Patrick Long has wrested that advantage away now from in the Porsche and pulled out just a little bit of a gap. But I'm sure it won't be long before Jaime Mello is right back with him.
We've just watched the number 9 car going around the 007 car, I believe. Absolutely incredible speed around that petrol car, and although the ACOs worked very hard to make them even, it's still not quite enough, I think.
There goes the number 7 car back onto the racetrack,
and the KSM Lola is back out again as well, so we'll see if that's managed to solve the problems they've had, which have plagued them since the start of this race.
Let's just go back to GT2 for a moment, Liz. We're talking about Pat Long in that IMSA performance car. I mean, all these cars in the front running have got huge winning history here at Le Mans. The Bergmeister's car, the the Risi Competizione car which won last year, and of course that IMSA Performance car won 2 years ago with Raymond Nourac. He's been the constant there. Matmut, in case you're wondering, is the biggest insurance agency in France. The team is based at Rouen, and they really are full-on Porsche backing, despite the fact one of the drivers is a very talented gentleman driver.
Yeah, well, I think with that history they've got with that car, I mean, it's done very well with Raymond Nourac as well. And you know, I think Porsche picks who they support very carefully, and I think they believe in this car and in the team, and they think it's got the potential to win. And certainly by making the decision to put Patrick Long in there, I think that shows that they think it can win.
Jeremy.
Yeah, there is the number 7 Peugeot back out into the fray. A 24-minute stop to repair that extensive damage on the left rear corner of the car. They've had a massive amount of work to do, and in 24 minutes, that is pretty impressive. That's almost Audi standards of repair work, isn't it?
Because we saw that car, it looked like it had a huge amount of damage, and who knew what else could have been going on underneath just from the damage of that tyre. So that really is an extremely fast repair.
Yeah, we don't know, of course, whether it's fully healthy, but we'll hopefully find out fairly short. The bad news is our timing, as you said, Mark Cole, the timing only goes to the top 36, and he's well outside that now. So that's rather irritating. We can't get proper scoring.
See if we can find a way around.
We'll just have to guess for the next 23 hours.
Yeah, no problem. That'll be fine. We can make it up.
Yeah, we normally do, don't we? Let's just have a look at LMP2 very briefly. Manu Collard is still well in control of that. And these cars are bulletproof, these Porsche Spiders. Collard running 14th overall, and behind him Seiji Ara in the Japanese entered Porsche Spider. That's the car, of course, that won here last year, the Van Merkstein car. So both these cars, first and second, running in the reverse order at the moment from last year, really, really bulletproof. And I think if we had no failures in these Porsche Spiders in Europe at all last year.
And they're just so far ahead of everything else. I mean, you look at the difference. The rest of the LMP2 cars are quite close together, but certainly a huge gap between the times in qualifying and even now in the race that the Porsches are able to do.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Cade in that 33 Speedy Seba car, I mean, that is a front-running LMP2, but he at the moment is some 12 seconds down on them. I mean, and Johnny is going to be as quick as anyone around here.
Well, it just goes to show the might of Porsche. I mean, when they build a car, they don't take any halfway points on it, and they basically have built that LMP2 car. Even the first one out of the box was an incredible vehicle, and every year the updates they've made, the changes they've made, it just gets better and better, and I think they proved that last year in the 24-hour.
Well, we're going down to the pits. Let's go and join Justine there, see who she's found.
Dr. Ulrich, good start, confident start.
Ah bon, c'était la voiture de McNish qui était sortie avec la prévision de faire 4 tours. Pour ça, on avait les pressions sur les pneus adaptés. Ça veut dire que les premiers tours, on n'était pas si fort comme on pensait. Par les safety cars, on a changé bien sûr la stratégie. Mais on verra, je pense, intermédiaire, c'est pas tout mal.
So
un petit problème avec la numéro 3, elle est repartie en piste. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé?
Hit the tires.
Bon, nous avons pas trouvé quelque chose sur la voiture qui était pas correcte.
We're in a good position to.
Pour l'instant, pas de problème. Vous avez vu que Peugeot a eu un petit problème.
We've checked the car all over. No problems at all.
C'est assez surprenant le petit problème que Peugeot a eu au stand. Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez?
Peugeot had their problems in the pit lane, and
normalement, on ne veut pas que des voitures de la même marque se touchent.
So we can see it can happen to any of us. We're surprised to have this problem in the pit lane.
Il y avait pas mal des choses cassées.
So two front cars running touch each other.
Bon alors normalement ça aide bien.
That's racing, and that's what being at Le Mans is all about.
Mais il faut qu'on est dans la position d'aller sur un speed où on peut gagner la course.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
We've really still got to find the right pace. And what we need is we need a window where we can find the pace we're going to run the race at. We haven't quite found it yet. Well, as we were hearing from Wolfgang Ulrich there, we just saw one of the GT2s coming. I didn't catch one.
It's problems with the number 75 Endurance Asia team.
All right.
And they seem to have a right front puncture. Luckily, he's been a bit better off than the Peugeot was, and it looks like it's maybe happened later in the track, so that he's been able to get around without too much damage on the car. Hopefully, they'll just be able to change that over and be back on their way.
Yeah, that car was outside the top 10 in GT2s. Incidentally, on the grid this morning, they had all the Hong Kong people here with a dragon, Chinese
fantastic.
dragon. Good luck symbol, of course.
Well, I think this is a good start for the new Asian Le Mans series that's starting. And definitely they're pushing for that. Stay with us now. We'll be back with you soon on Eurosport 2.
You're live on Eurosport at the world's greatest race, the Le Mans 24 Hours. We are now some 1 hour and 20 minutes into the race. Peugeot leading from Audi, Peugeot, and then in 5th and 6th places, the two beautiful Gulf Lola Aston Martins. How good is that? 3 manufacturers all on top of their game, filling the top 6 places. Jeremy?
Yeah, it's been a fascinating first, hour and 20 minutes, hasn't it? We've seen, unfortunately, those two cars out, but there's all sorts of interesting battles going on. And let's have a look at the order now in LMP2. We still have the two Porsches out in front, and it's still Emmanuel Collard. He's got an advantage of about 10 or 12, 14 seconds last time around over Seiji Ara in the Team Go Porsche. In terms of fastest laps, those two within about a half a second or so. So I think very little to choose between them at this stage. The lead, meanwhile, last time around, Frank Montagny did a 3 minutes 36, which is a good bit off his usual pace. We're presuming that's because he had just an inordinate amount of traffic on that lap. But as a result, the gap to Alan McNish has come down to 1 minute 41 seconds. So he brought it down by about 6 or 7 seconds worth over the last couple of laps. The last time around, Nishi did a 3 minutes 29.196, which is only fractionally slower than his best lap of the race thus far.
Right, here's the first of the non-factory cars at the moment. It's the Speedy Savile Lola Coupe of Andrea Bellici, the man who lit qualifying alight on Thursday night. The guy was so fast, but he was so ragged as well over the curves. Twice he leapt over the Ford chicane, and we're actually worried. So were Lola, who's going to punch a front suspension, struck through the monocoque the way he was flying that car around. But Liz, let's just go back to what Dr. Ulrich was saying. He said they've been all over Premat's car, they found nothing wrong. And does that point to driver error?
It could do. I mean, it just seems very odd to me. I mean, it's just the way the car reacted that seems very strange, and you would have thought, you know, a driver of his quality, he would have been able to tell them if it was his own fault or not. So I don't know if maybe that's Audi not telling us something, or if it's the driver himself not wanting to admit it. I don't know. It's hard to say, really.
I'm sure Romain Dumas didn't make up the fact. He said Alex had been reporting power problems, steering problems before that happened.
Yeah.
So
it looked a lot to me like something grabbed in the car, but I mean,
perhaps we're going into territory we shouldn't be going down.
I think we might, be edging in somewhere where we're not invited.
I just found some scoring on the web here. It's several minutes behind, but the number 7 car with Nicola Manassia at the wheel did a 3 minutes 27.2. Probably be a couple of laps ago now, but that, I think, that in fact was his first flying lap after those repairs. So a 3:27, 1 lap after repairs is pretty impressive. I think they've done a very good repair job on that car, and apparently, therefore, it is in rude health. The bad news is he's 7 laps behind the race leader.
Yes, but full marks to Peugeot for turning that round. Here's Bellici. He's staying on board the little Speedy Savile car. This, of course, is last year's Charouz factory Aston Martin car. Great job they did with that car. And Bellici, as we said earlier, one of the heroes of qualifying. He's just getting fettled. This is his second stop. And already it's bedtime for the racing guys. You know, they're obviously quite happy with the car. They're all taking an early snooze because they know it's going to be a long night.
I think they're trying to catch up on what they're hoping will be a very long night, I think, as in staying up with the car running. So.
On the grid this morning, Paul Drayson out on the grid on the other side of the road facing the crowds, and the crowds are actually cheering. They weren't cheering, they were cheering, and he was loving every moment of it. I mean, of course, this is one of the biggest things of his life, to actually be here racing at Le Mans. He's tried for so many years to do it, but because he's blind in one eye, as we told the other night, the FI kept refusing him to race it. Finally they relented, and here he is doing a wonderful job.
And he's got his entire family here, every one of them wearing an Aston Martin racing suit as well, which I think is just fantastic. The whole family here to support him, and we wish him lots of luck. I hope that he has every bit of the Le Mans experience that he's hoping for.
Teamed up with Lord Mandelson next year, perhaps?
Never know.
There goes Andrea Bellici back into the race in 8th place, having made that pit stop. And that Lola Aston Martin car really running nicely. It's been very impressive, hasn't it, all week long? It's been pretty much on the same pace as the work-slower Aston Martins.
Yeah, I mean, last year when they started the LMS season at Barcelona and led the Peugeots, I mean, everyone just, wow, you know, what's this? And the Audis, of course, and we suddenly realised what an engine Aston Martin have. Of course, they are running direct injection engines this weekend. We don't know how many of the cars. We knew it was one, then it turned out it's two. We don't know if all three of them have got it.
Yeah, I believe all three have got it.
I think all three were intended to have it, certainly.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of niggling going on there from Mareka, saying, well, you know, this is supposed to be the GT1 engine, and Aston say, well, that's what we're going to be doing in GT1, so there we are. So,
right, and they actually didn't even put the engine in until after the first practice, I believe. Yeah. So they did their first practice with the other engine, and then they put that in, which really is a bit of a gamble at Le Mans, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure that Aston Martin feels they know what they're doing, and they've thought it through, obviously. They're winners here, but, you know, I just think it's a bit of a risk, isn't it, for 24 hours on proven engine?
I'm sure it's proven and tested.
Wow.
Yeah, they've done a lot of track testing and dyno testing, everything else. You can never simulate racing conditions, of course.
Exactly, and there's only so much a dyno can do.
But for the engine, you know, you can learn a lot, obviously, from the dyno, and I'm sure they wouldn't be running it if they weren't comfortable with it. But you know, within the first hour or so, we've had a 009 car, as David Richards said, a C's alternator pulley on that car. So clearly it's not bulletproof.
And this is, of course, the LMP2 non-Porsche leader. This is Johnny Kane, the man from Northern Ireland, doing a great job here in the 33 car. That's the other Speedy Seba car that Hugh Hayden runs with his Arabic number 7. And Johnny going to be handing that car over to Benjamin Leuenberger, Xavier Pompidou. And really, this coupe working so well is in LMP2, isn't it? As we've seen with the RML car, now they've got the engine working, right?
Well, I was speaking to Lola about this, and really they've just kept on improving the car. And I think when it was brand new, they said that some of the drivers were saying there was a bit of an oversteer issue and it was a bit snatchy. And this year, they said all the drivers are just saying that it's absolutely dialed in, that it feels really planted, really secure. So it looks like, you know, Lola's really figured it out, and it is a super car now.
Look at the 16 car, the surviving, or the undamaged Pescarolo car. This is so difficult. You're running one open prototype, albeit Peugeot engine, but it's your own car. The other car you're running is a quasi-factory car, and you've got to balance, haven't you, between how you're going to approach your strategy. We heard Henri Pescarolo saying that went out of the window after this collision. But,
well, exactly. I think there was definitely a plan there.
So, welcome back to British Eurosport. Christophe Tanso then in the Pescarolo, coming out of the pits, having just made his second stop of the afternoon. That car was running in 7th place. We'll see where it threads back in. There's the Essex car. That is our LMP2 leader. It was blue last year when it finished second here. Green this year to celebrate its part in the Michelin Green Challenge. And Manu Collard, still one of the finest Porsche drivers of all time at the wheel of that car.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be sorry that he's gotten the drive in that car. Obviously, Emmanuel Collard being on pole at Le Mans before, he's driven the Pescarolo, he's driven a lot of different cars, but I know he really loves this Porsche, so he's not going to be sorry to be back in it at Le Mans.
Yeah,
well,
you
first
saw
time at Le Mans.
And Jeremy, you've seen in America, every time he was invited over to drive for Penske Porsche, he'd be in the winning car.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got either a very good manager or a bit of both. I mean, he's managed, obviously, as a factory driver for Porsche, so they put him in a place where he's likely to do a good job, and he very rarely disappoints.
So down the long Mulsanne Straight. Well, we're going to be changing channels again. Just make sure as we go to the break, you've only got 2 to choose between on the Sky package, so make sure you get the right one. We'll be back after this break. So you're on Eurosport2, hopefully now joining us here at Le Mans. We've got Liz Halliday, Jeremy Shaw, myself, Mark Cole. Well, now 1.5 hours into the race. Peugeot leading, Frank Montagny at the wheel from Audi's Alain McNeish, Audi's Mike Rockenfeller, Marc Genet for Peugeot in 4th, and then the 2 Lola Aston Martins, Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner running in 5th and 6th. Manu Collard leads LMP2, and GT1 in the safe hands of Jan Magnussen, the factory Corvette, their last ever run here. Patrick Long, another American, he is running in 31st place, leading LMGT2. in the IMSA Performance Matmut Porsche. And Liz, you're a good friend of Pat Long. What will his feelings be at the moment?
Well, I think certainly, like I said, when I spoke to him earlier, he said they were very relaxed. They didn't think they could hold the pace of the other car, but, certainly he's proving that wrong at the moment because he's hammering away at the front. So I think they'll be very happy at the moment. Their plan was just to keep very consistent times, obviously quick, but just keep them going, stay out of the pits and just see if the race came to them. But I think maybe Pat was a bit wrong in saying they couldn't hold the pace because he's certainly doing it now.
Well, Porsche were faster last year here, but Ferrari still won. And again, they've been generally faster here this year, but Ferrari's still mixing it with them, and it all comes down to luck, doesn't it?
I mean, I honestly think that we're going to see them dicing through the entire 24 hours. I think we'll see a swap over Ferrari, Porsche, back and forth, and it's all going to come down to pit stops, in my opinion. Pit stops and keeping it clean. And we'll have to see where it comes.
Yeah, maybe your tyre management might come into that as well. It's all part of that whole strategic situation. But the Porsche definitely in GT2 has a slight straight line speed advantage over the Ferraris. It's probably about 5 or 6 kilometers per hour advantage that the Porsches have, certainly here, and it's all about straightaway speed here, isn't it, at Le Mans? So that is a very crucial advantage that the Porsches have. The Ferraris can break a little bit deeper into the corners, and it's now down to, we don't yet know really who has the advantage on fuel strategy, on fuel mileage, because they both were able just to make their first stop when that safety car came out.
It's really going to come down to who's going to have the best pit stops.
I think it might well do.
Best pit stops, best driver changes. It's going to be interesting to see who's the most switched on in the teams with this new tyre strategy.
There you go, and who makes these mistakes.
Exactly.
And out of the pits.
Watch this space, I think, is the key for that one.
But back up at the front, we've only got the 6 cars on the lead lap. We've got the 2 Peugeots, the 2 Audis and the 2 Lola Aston Martins. They're the only cars on the lead lap. In 7th place now, it's Charles Waltzman at the wheel of the Team Kohler's Audi R10 TDI, car number 14, as we see both of the Jaguars on the Aston Martins on pit lane.
Now, certainly in the 009 car, I know they were planning on doing triple stints straight from the beginning and triple stinting the tyres, which is quite a big move, I think, really. So they're very confident they can triple stint those tyres, quad stinting through the night in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, Aston Martin, of course, very proud they're covered in 3 of the 4 classes here. We just saw the Jet Alliance car rolling to a halt out in the circuit. We're going to take a break in just a moment, so we'll be back here live on Eurosport after these messages. Stay with us. 25 laps completed here, 77th running of the Le Mans 24 hours as we look at the LMP2 leading Essex Porsche, Emmanuel Cole out of France at the wheel of the Danish car, and in the pits the number 3 Audi. This is the car of Alex Prematz, the one that's had all the bad luck today. Might have been a power steering problem, it might not, we just don't know, but he went off at Indianapolis.
He did, and he lost 2 laps making that pit stop. There goes Frank Montagny, our race leader, just having made his 2nd service of the day. And the number 3 car of Alexander Prematz was back up into 19th place overall.
Yeah. So Montagny then, as you say, continuing on board that car. Alan McNish 2nd. Well, he'll go first now, of course. Rocky into 2nd place as Montagny takes that stop. But Montagny's pace, at first we thought was just dropping off a bit, but he's flattered to deceive, hasn't he? Because he did a 3:25 on the 2nd lap and then running 3:30s after that. That's still a huge pace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Through that first stint, he was running regular 26s and 27s all the way through to that first safety car, and he was super consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, there wasn't a lot of traffic in that early stages because he just came up took it 3 or 4 laps to catch the tail end cars. He had to work his way through there. Once he'd done that, he was off with clear road again. So now the traffic is more kind of knotted and a little bit more difficult to pick your way through, but he was super consistent in that opening stint. It was very, very impressive. And do you remember pulling away from the Audi at 3 seconds a lap?
Yeah, and do you remember last year, all through the night while it was dry, Montagny was banging in the same lap time all through the night. In fact, we commented on it several times, and I think we probably called him the most consistent driver of the race last year.
Yes, we did, we definitely did. I mean, but it is hard to say because at the beginning of the race, obviously, he had a completely clear road in front of him. He had nothing to deal with. Then obviously you start dealing with the traffic. But even so, like we were saying earlier, it just seems a bit further off the pace than he should be in traffic, being the experienced driver he is. So it makes you wonder if maybe there is a little bit of a problem.
Oh, we've got 2 Audis in at once. Bit of a traffic jam there. Bad planning, isn't it? New nose also for the man that was leading the race when he came in, Alan McNish. He'll be staying on board. Audi telling us they're triple stinting early in the evening, and then quadruple stinting if they can with the tyres. Whether or not they can with the drivers, we'll find out during the night. But Dr. Ulrich saying they still have to find their pace. It's just been such a messy race to start with the safety car. We've had problems here, there, a lot of traffic, and they just need a long, consistent run, don't they, to find out how the car best works at what temperature.
And that time, interestingly, the Peugeot and the Audi came in on the same lap, didn't they? So that is pretty interesting to me. Last time around, the Audi was able to go one lap farther than the Audi. This time, not the case.
Yeah, and last year, of course, Audi could always stop later than the Peugeots. So Peugeot obviously got their fuel management worked out a lot better this year, Liz.
Yeah, no, they have, I think, and you know, certainly they've had a bit more time with diesel fuel and time to work out how that's going to work for them. And now they've got the new car, and I'm sure they've got that a lot more dialed in. I'm sure that was part of the planning when they built the new car. They've really looked at exactly how they could manage it at Le Mans. You know, I mean, Audi would have planned everything. Yeah, I mean, we know that. They would have planned everything and then planned it again and then planned it again just to make sure.
Yeah, so, Peugeot the same. Peugeot seem to have got all the boxes ticked now. But of course, it has to be their last shout with this car. It's 3 years old now.
It does.
You can't go on for another year. I think if they don't win Le Mans this year, I don't know what they're going to do.
No, and I think in all fairness to Peugeot, now they've got a car that they actually really, really know. It is a car they've had for a while. They've revised it. So they've got it really dialed in, whereas there is a bit of a risk with a brand new car with Audi. So just have to see. Let's go to the pits for an interview.
Yeah, see who Justin's got now.
Thiago, vous êtes 13e pour l'instant, ça se passe plutôt pas mal, mais vous êtes beaucoup moins rapide que les Aston.
Oui, ça c'est clair et net, on est nettement moins vite.
Well,
on s'y attendait un petit peu, hein, c'était clair. Maintenant, le rythme de course qu'on a établi est un rythme safe et sans prendre trop de risques. Donc la course est très longue.
Diego Montero telling us we're not taking any risks.
Il y a déjà eu pas mal de petits problèmes dans les équipes de
test.
Il faut être serein,
il faut être
concentré et continuer à notre rythme. Il ne faut pas trop se forcer pour l'instant. Et on verra pendant la nuit ce que...
Big problems for the top teams at the start. We're not taking any risks. We're seeing what they've done and we'll work out our strategy during the night.
Et de revenir au WTCC le week-end prochain à Brno.
C'est un exercice que j'aime bien d'habitude. C'est pas forcément simple tout le temps.
He said, well, I'm competing in the World Touring Car Championship, of course, now doing Le Mans. And I've got to really find out all the conditions, find out what the limits are of these cars. It's really important for a driver like me. You've got to try different categories. I'll be in Brno next week for the WTCC, see how I get on there. It's my first time in prototypes. Completely different. I wanted to make sure I had a chance to compete here. Everything about it, the approach to it, the driving, the setup, is all quite different. Yeah, I'd love this, and I just love being here, and I'd like to continue to be involved in this type of racing. So, out goes that number 9 Peugeot. That's Marc Genet, currently in second place because the Audis have both made their pit stops, but Marc, of course, will be rejoining after. He was our race leader, Liz, just for that brief window during the pit stop changes.
Yeah, I think that, that's what we see a lot here at this race is the constant changeover just during the pit stops. But I think you have to wait till all the teams have done their pit stops again, it settles in again, then we have the race back on our hands. But the swapping round will happen forever, but it's who can keep it most consistent.
So there we are, that's the Pescarolo Peugeot.
Sorry to interrupt. What I was going to say was that the number 9 there coming onto pit lane, he made a pit stop right before we went back to green. So he was at that on this stint. He was able to do 12 laps, and that's a full tank of fuel to get in 12 laps.
Ah, well done. You're on top of the game there. This is our own famed Paul Trustwell, isn't it? Jerome is doing the maths, as it were, this time. So it'll settle back into the order of Montani. Rockenfeller's got ahead of McNish, by the way. He's 11 seconds ahead. Now I don't know what happened there in the pit lane.
They changed the nose.
Changed the nose. That's car, right. So that's cost McNish second place for the moment, because Genet will slot in behind McNish in 4th place ahead of Stefan Mucker and Darren Turner. That's the first round of stop.
so before the start. He was looking oh so confident and really feeling good about things. So to have that incident in that first part of the race, just crushing for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, but not only for Peugeot, for Pescarolo as well, because whoever fault it was, he will feel surely that he was caught up in that. He was partly to blame. I was talking to Henri down on the grid, and I said, went up and said, "And Henri, bon courage." He said, "No, it's bon Pescarolo." Then I said, "You want to beat Peugeot?" He said, "I am Peugeot."
Yes.
So they are company man already. And remember, he was the man who was involved in the Peugeot program right from the start, running Peugeot engines in his own prototypes, and then he was fairly confident he was going to be given the Peugeot program to run, but it wasn't to be, and this is his chance this year anyway.
Yeah, well, I think it was, I mean, I don't believe Nick Manassian's actually been in the car yet, has he?
I think he's in it now.
No, he's in, it's still marked in. Yeah, still marked in. I just saw his helmet.
No, they're triple stage.
Number 7 car.
Number 9 is
yeah, with 7 cars so far back, we can't.
No, I was telling you. I was number 7 car. I was talking about Nick Manassian.
Sorry, yes.
Is that
they have put him back in there.
Yeah.
They have put him in. For
what I was saying, we couldn't check because
that's right.
The number 17 car, the Pescarolo Peugeot, it's only 1 lap down to the race leader. Now, even after that pit stop that he just made.
Yeah, that's Boulon's doing a good job there, isn't he? He's really hauled that car back up. He has run 28, so that is certainly in the top 5 times of this race so far. 25.106, still the fastest lap. That was Montagny on lap 2, and we've got some 26s behind him for Genet and indeed for Boulon. So shows Peugeot showing their handlers perhaps a little bit at the beginning of the race, but then immediately back off, hoping no one's noticed.
Hoping no one noticed. Yeah, hopefully they were so fast that everybody missed it. But certainly they're going to have to push a lot harder now, though. Certainly that's not what they would have wanted this early in the race. I think they would have wanted to hold back a bit and sort of keep it quiet without having to go as fast as they had to.
Well, we talked earlier about Paul Drayson, Lord Drayson, being popular with the crowds here, and Chastain, I think, has managed to buttonhole him down in the pits. We're going to be hearing from him in a minute, and that car of theirs, which is the Drayson Racing Aston Martin, not figuring at the moment in the top 8 in GT2. That's all Porsche against Ferrari. In fact, Pat Long still holding off a phalanx of Ferraris. It's Jaime Mello, Dominic Farnbacher and Christophe Boucher, and then Darren Law down in 5th place in the next Porsche. So Ferrari starting to put their stamp on here. Hardly surprising. They've got 9 Porsches against 9 Ferraris against 4 Porsches. It's going to be hard work this afternoon.
Yeah, but it's still pretty close, isn't it? We've only got some 20 seconds covering those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 cars. So it's a good old battle going on in there, and we expect that, don't we, to continue pretty much throughout this race. That's going to be a really fun thing to watch, I think, as this whole race unfolds.
But look at the calibre of the drivers they got. All those we've just mentioned. Darren Law in 5th. He's just comes here from winning the Rolex 24 outright this year at Daytona. Jimmy Bruni and Andrew Cacaldi. These are all top GT2 drivers.
And all at the top end of this class at the moment. I mean, like I've been saying, throughout, I think it's going to be a seriously difficult race to the end for all these guys. They're all going to be pushing as if it was qualifying, I think, for the entire race.
Yeah, Rob Bell, of course, will be delighted that their car's still well in the running now. That's in 7th place. Andrew Cacaldi at the wheel of the JMW car. And Tim Sugden, of course, another stalwart British GT driver. Tim's in there.
Tim Sugden with a huge amount of FIA GT experience.
Yeah.
British GT for basically anything GT, I think, involving Porsche especially. So yeah, he'll be very pleased to be in there again and involved for the race.
And remember, in 2007 went out to Asia and won the Carrera Cup out there. So he's another man still on top of his game.
Yeah.
Well, we're still waiting to hear from Lord Drayson. Don't know where he is at the moment, but when we get news from the pits, we'll come back to you. Let's just have a quick update on what's happening in GT1. Hardly seen the Corvettes. Johnny O'Connell still leading Ollie Beretta and Patrick Gerselaar in the Lookout Van car third.
And those 2 GM Corvettes were both again split by that safety car, so there's a big margin between them, having been nose to tail beforehand. They just made their pit stops at slightly different times, and that is what got them separated. Otherwise, they've been running nose to tail as per usual through that opening slip.
That's a shame. They've lost photo opportunity for the moment then.
Yeah, so, through no fault of their own.
A lot of American photographers here this year. Also, incidentally, a lot of Formula 1 journalists, because there's no Canadian Grand Prix this year. It's a gap between. It's amazing how the Formula 1 guys all come here. You see all the FI Formula 1 pit lane tabards going up and down here, and we're very pleased to see them. They can come see some real racing.
Absolutely, yeah. We hope they'll finally realise, you know, what they're missing.
No kidding. I tell you, I know we talked about this last year, this two twin pace car scenario, and it really bugs me because we've seen the battle for the lead and the battle for GT1 separated by those two pace cars, and yes, it's luck of the draw and things can equalise as the race unfolds, but still here is Lord Drace's car on pit lane, mate, meanwhile.
Yeah. Let's have a look what's going on there.
Talking about Aston Martins, the number 60,
routine, yeah.
The number 66 car, the Jet Alliance Aston Martin is not out of the race like we told you on. It is back, it's many laps down, but it is back and running.
Well, we can tell you now why Justine couldn't find Paul Drayson. He was actually in the car at the time.
Yeah,
as soon as he gets out, he's going to get hold of him.
Details.
So here is the Go car. The Go, of course, winners here outright in the Go Audi at Le Mans, and Segiara, the man who took that team to victory, he's staying on board the LMP2 second place car. Here's the 009 car. Yeah, 009 car here of this is the second. This is the one that's had the problems, hasn't it?
Yes, with the alternator problem earlier. Yeah.
I'm afraid we can't at this moment tell you exactly where it's placed, but it is not in the top 36.
Which car?
The 009 car.
It's running in 43rd place.
There we are.
5 laps down to the overall leader.
And what were the problems that had? Can someone?
It was an alternator problem. Yes.
The alternator. That was it. Yep.
Good.
And that's currently Peter Cox in the car, who I believe did start.
Any notified retirements yet? I think there was, because Martin Haven leapt in, grabbed the marker of doom and leapt over to the wall. Is it the Lamborghini, Martin?
Yeah.
It's the J-Lock Lamborghini. What a shame.
And we don't know what's happened with the Aston Martin that had stopped out on circuit earlier.
The Jet Alliance car.
Made it back in?
Yeah, it is back in.
It is? Okay, good.
And it showed us only 14 laps down on the race leader, so it's a fairly lengthy opening pit stop they had to make, but it is back in the fray and apparently running reasonably well.
Right, we have the fight for second place here now. This is Rocky being chased by Genet, so this is some track action here up front. Look at the pace Genet's got at the moment. His last lap 3 was 2 seconds slower, but he's suddenly woken up, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think certainly now he's on the tail of Rockefeller, and he's going to be pushing as hard as he can.
Hey, we're going down to talk to Lord Drayson. He's in the pits with Justine.
Paul, incredible start. How was it?
Fantastic. It was absolutely immense. I had a big grin all the way round. The car's perfect. We're in good position. The weather's nice. Everything feels great. I really enjoyed it. I'm on sort of target pace and just got to do this for 24 hours.
Which is long.
It is long, but we can do it. We can do it.
How do you feel? I just saw that they took your heart. So how do you feel? Quite tired already?
No, they're not. This is a scientific experiment. They're measuring the carbon monoxide in my bloodstream to see whether or not Le Mans drivers have a higher concentration of carbon monoxide as they go through the 24 hours. So, we're doing a scientific experiment. I'm a science minister, and that's what he's measuring. It's an amazing thing. It's a laser which can tell from the wavelength of the blood what's the level of carbon monoxide compared to oxygen that's binding to the hemoglobin. Cool, huh?
Yeah, very cool. So you are a big athlete.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Paul. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
That's a great insight, isn't it? Carbon monoxide level in the blood can be keep monitored as you're going around.
Yeah, that's a new one. I haven't heard about. I haven't heard that one before.
It can be a
very
major
interesting.
problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to take a break. We're staying on Eurosport here. Unbroken coverage throughout the 24 hours if you're in Britain. So, quick commercial. Look forward to seeing you all again after these messages. Back with Eurosport live at Le Mans. We are now 1 hour 52 minutes into the great race. Peugeot's Frank Montagny is leading from Audi's Mike Rockenfeller and Peugeot's Marc Genet. Alan McNish held slightly in the pits to have a nose change. He got out ahead of Genet, but Genet on his pit stop managed to jump Alan into third place. So Peugeot splitting the Audis. We've got a problem down there for one of the Felbermeyer Porsches. We've also got reports the Racing Box LMP2 car is limping around with a puncture. That's Richard Leeds.
Wow, and he was well up in that class. He was in the top 3 or 4 at least for a while, and that is a major problem for those guys. That's a very fast car and was expected to be very much a contender for victory in GT2. Mark Lee, Richard Leitz and Wolf Hensler, that's a very, very fast combination of drivers, but it looks like they've got a fairly major problem.
It looks like they're struggling to start the car again. Yeah, it looks like he was on his way into the pit, somehow it stopped, and now he's struggling to restart the car, because you can see the lights coming on, which will come on automatically when you fire up the engine, but then they keep cutting off.
That car down in 43rd position, you just saw there, so if you're going to have bad luck, have it all in one car, try not to spread it amongst the rest of the field. So, the story of the race so far: Audi, one car, big problems. Peugeot, one car, even bigger problems. Aston
Peugeot,
Martin,
another car with problems, really.
And Aston Martin, problem.
And talking about Aston Martin, a good opportunity here to bring up a message, an email sent to us by Rob Chalmers of Warrington. And he said that he points out, of course, that Aston Martin is represented in 3 classes. And he asks us, when was the last time a manufacturer had a car in all classes, if at all?
1999 Porsche.
1999 Porsche. There you go, Mark Cole. Thank you very much indeed. And Rob, thank you so much for that email.
Anorak of knowledge over here.
And Rob tells us that he'd give certain parts of his anatomy to be joining us here this weekend.
Oh, we've already given some of us.
We don't need to go into more details, Rob, but thank you so much for the email. And anybody else who wants to email us here, please do so. You can reach us at lemans.eurosport@yahoo.com. lemans.eurosport@yahoo.com. So please keep your messages flowing, and we will try to get to some as this race unfolds.
Yeah, anyone wanting to know about Nick Manassi, we're talking about earlier, we can now confirm he is way down in 51st place. 009, he's just got stop and go penalty, presumably because it got assistance to get started. It's rejoined.
Yes, yeah.
And here comes car number 7. Whoa,
yeah.
Almost ran over his engineer there. That would be bad.
Mental note, make next year's out of rubber. Yeah, so Manassi, is he staying in the car? Yeah, but I mean, this has been an awful run for them, hasn't it? He's done 3:25 though. I mean, the guy is so quick when he's managed to get out there. You know,
he's going to have it turned on.
He's done the second fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and he's been turning a string of quick laps. He's been the fastest car on the track on a regular basis over the last half an hour or 45 minutes since he took over at that repaired car number 7. But the bad news is, of course, a long way down and made up really no ground at all on the overall race leader. His teammate, Frank Montagny, who was really doing a super job. And Frank's turned another couple of quick laps as well. Last time around, a 3 minutes 26.2, and 2 or 3 laps ago, he did a 3 minutes 25.6, so within a half a second of his fastest lap of the race.
But apart from just getting that, just overshooting his pit slightly, the pit stops are so much slicker this year from Peugeot. Okay, it's going to take 3 seconds extra because of the reduced diameter on the fuel refilling nozzles, but Peugeot really do seem to have learned a lot from watching Ashley last year.
Well, they put the time in, I think, over the winter and through the earlier parts of this year. They've really pushed hard to make their pit stops absolutely well oiled and 100%, because they knew that that's partly where they lost it last year.
The Velbemar car then being pushed in. Luckily, he stopped, didn't he?
In pit lane,
just on the entry. So Richard Leitz, one of the factory drivers, one of 9 Porsche factory drivers here this weekend.
Oh, what a disaster for them.
Oh, no, it does look like...
he's got power, hasn't he?
Outside assistance, so...
well, as long as they pushed him to a safe place, so if he can get it going now somehow and get it back, all he's got is a short distance, so if he can get it running, then...
I mean, maybe this is a good point, just to say, ask you, Liz, why in Europe, if a car does that, do we exclude it? In America, the show must go on. It's a totally different culture.
And I think it's better that way, to be honest, because so many times it's an incident where someone's just gone off ever so slightly and they just leave them there and that's it. And I think that's horrible. I think it's much better that if you have a chance, if the car's not ruined, give them a shot to get going again.
Down to the pit lane.
Olive, comment ça s'est passé?
Ça se passait super bien. J'étais arrivé à faire 2 bons stints. J'étais arrivé à doubler Stéphane et j'ai fait un bon petit écart.
Olivia Panis said it's okay. And
j'ai eu un problème de frein, si tu veux, j'ai le, tu sais le.
Just saying, just saying as a crash. Olivier's looked up, seen his sister car, Stefano Ortelli, in the wall. Quite a big accident there for the Matmut car. Oh dear, that's rather showing the interview, isn't it? But he's saying, well, apart from that, it's been going okay so far.
Merci, Olivier.
He said, I had problems, the accelerator lost pace, but While Olivier's talking, we're just watching the replay of the sister car going off into the wall at some speed. That car surely is going to be finished. Jeremy?
What a disaster there. He just looked like he'd strayed that left rear wheel onto the grass, didn't he, as he turned in to that right-hand corner, Liz Halliday.
Just that little bit, and even just that little bit of grass that you would catch at that speed could just be enough to fire you into the wall.
Ortelli, I mean, again, a Le Mans winner and one of the finest drivers in the world.
And Stefan, an incredible driver, but it just goes to show that, you know, mistakes do happen to even the very best, and you know, it's just a real tragedy for them. I think that will probably be game over.
It's his 13th Le Mans, and I guess it's an unlucky 13th. There is Hugues de Schonack, the team owner of the Orica Matmut team, and you know, Stefan Ortelli was so crushed last year to miss this race. He'd had that massive crash at Monza, hadn't he, in the Le Mans Series race there, and he broke his foot, didn't he? I think
broke his ankle very badly.
He was out for several months. He was almost fit enough to drive here, but not quite. He couldn't risk it. He came back this year with such high expectations, gunning maybe not for the overall victory, but certainly I think a legitimate contender for the top petrol engine car. And it comes to a fairly sticky end.
And last year wasn't even the first time that he'd missed a Le Mans due to injury. He'd had I think it was back in 2005 or 6.
We got another one off. This is the 4 car, the Creations car.
Oh no, that's Vanina Eeks in that car.
It's a second incident of the weekend.
She's been actually turning very good times.
Yeah, Wednesday night she so they're going to the aid of Vanina. To the aid of Vanina there, as we still ride on board in the number 2 car. That's Mike Rockenfeller. So the retirement's starting to come thick and fast. Martin Haven and Simon Hill are joining us in a couple of minutes, and Martin's rushing around looking for the marker of doom. Once more mark the wall. I think we can certainly take the Stefan Ortelli car, the Oreca Courage, out of that equation. So on we go. No, he's getting back. So he's getting back. They've got that car back on the track. It may be nothing worse, Liz, than crushed rear end and lost wing.
We've just seen a large piece of something come off the back of it as he's come back out as well, but yeah, that could potentially be really good news for them. Well, it looks like it's moving all right, and hopefully they've got that spare to put it back out on the circuit.
I mean, it looked a lot worse, didn't it, than that when it was in the wall. You think, oh dear. But it just shows at Le Mans, you can never say never. Well, we're going to speak to Hugues de Schonack, see what he's got to say about that latest incident.
J'imagine que vous savez pas trop ce qui s'est passé, c'est un peu terrible.
Oui, non, je sais pas ce qui s'est passé.
Well, asked about the car going in the wall. He said we don't know what happened.
D'extrême prudence parce que la piste est extrêmement piégeuse. On le voit, il y a plusieurs voitures qui partent et je sais pas
drivers are under orders not to take any risks in the first 3 hours. I don't know what happened there.
Grosse, je dirais très agréable surprise. L'important c'est surtout qu'ils puissent ramener la voiture, ce qui est le cas maintenant.
It's a big surprise for us because Stefan isn't that type of guy, doesn't make mistakes. Now we've got to do work on the car.
C'est une première faute qui va nous coûter cher.
Vous avez toujours une voiture en piste qui est assez bien placée, malgré le fait que vous soyez en essence.
We thought we were going to be on schedule, made a mistake, and it's going to cost us.
Je crois que, bon, de toute façon, il y a 2 courses. Il y a la course des diesels et il y a la course de l'essence. Et nous, on doit faire un zéro faute.
Yeah, we were really moving up the order. Peugeot, Audi, everyone's had problems, and we need to make no mistakes at all.
C'est la seule façon d'avoir une chance d'avoir un bon classement à l'arrivée.
If you want to have any chance, you've got to have a strategy where you run at a safe pace and don't make any mistakes.
Est-ce que vous pensez que vous êtes capable d'aller chercher les Aston Martin?
22 hours to go, lot can happen.
Sur la fiabilité des Aston Martin en 24 heures, donc je pense qu'il faut surtout pas chercher.
We still got a chance to catch up with the Audis or the Aston Martin.
Tournent beaucoup plus vite que nous, parce que je pense que demain matin ils auront plus de difficultés à être toujours là.
Merci beaucoup, Hugues. Merci.
We really don't know about the Astons, you know, so perhaps we've got a chance. So it's Hugh. Still optimistic, isn't he?
Well, there you go. He's a guy who's been around this sport a long time, so you know, he knows to take the ups with the downs. Don't panic. You know, just do the work on the car now, get it back in the fray, and don't make any more mistakes.
Just goes to show how easy it is to just make that one tiny little mistake, and you know, it can just be all over like that. But I think it's looking not quite as bad as we thought originally. Hopefully, it does look like he's coming back and out at a bit of pace. So hopefully they'll have the spare. won't be too much damage and he'll be back up and running.
I think that's absolutely right, Liz. You know, he's lost 1 lap so far, but it could have been a lot more before he got it back to the pits. I don't think he's back in the pit lane just yet, is he?
He's
just creeping through Porsche curves now. Yeah. Anyway, so the other car we just saw snatch off, the Pescarolo, the Pescarolo Peugeot, right there on the pace at the moment. That's its main opposition, of course. It's the battle of the garagistes as it was, but things all moved up a bit since then. So just to confirm, Montani for Peugeot leading overall in LMP2. It's at the moment Kaspar Elgaard on board the Essex Porsche that's leading that category. Johnny O'Connell in the Corvette, and it's Dominic Farnbacher in the Ferrari leading in LMGT2.
Now we can just see Vanina Eakes coming into the pits now as well. We've just seen that snapshot of her coming in. She's had an off in the gravel. Hopefully that's nothing more than just a slight driver error, and they'll be back up and running soon.
Yeah, she had this moment, didn't she, on Wednesday night? The car had just come over from America, from Carolina, done no running, no testing. Jamie Campbell-Waters said to us we should never have put Vanina in there because it was wet, it was dark, the car was handling like a pig. She went off on her outlap and put it off. You know, we don't blame her, we blame the car.
Not the way you really want to start the weekend. And Vanina's a very experienced driver at Le Mans. She's done well in an LMP car. And the Creation's a challenging car to drive, a very good car, but definitely challenging, and not the way you really want to start is in the wet, in the dark.
Yeah, so the Eureka car just about in the pits now. He's had a real struggle, hasn't he, to get down there. He's coming into pit road now, so just hopefully we'll pick. There we are. It's actually in the box now. Here we are. We can see it being pushed back into the box. And I guess we won't see that for another 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, well, that'll be key, won't it? How long it'll take them to get that. Certainly, at the very least, a new rear wing on the car. The hope is that he won't have damaged the suspension as well.
Well, they'll be taking the back off quickly as they can, and the front as well, and give it a really good check over before they send him back out. But hopefully it won't be too bad.
Stefan's certainly been optimistic, and he's staying at the wheel of the car. He's not getting out.
Yeah, that's good news. That's always a good sign. If the driver stays in the car in the garage, then it means they're hoping for a quick turnover.
The whole team falls on the car like a pack of hyenas. As you said, there's everyone you've got can work on the car. As many people as can get in the garage. Looking just down at the order, we're just coming up then to just gone past the 2-hour mark in this race. Another 22 to go, as Hugh Schoenig was telling us. In comes the number 13 car. That's the Belici Lola. That's running in 11th place at the moment, having a very solid run.
Yeah, they really have done a nice job, haven't they? Just running consistently. That's exactly what they needed to do. Their fastest lap so far, a 3 minutes 33, which is only about 3 seconds off the factory Lola Aston Martins. This, of course, the number 13 car. It's a year-old car. It does not have the latest upgrades either to the aerodynamics or the engine. So they're just running. They have a game plan, and they're running to that game plan. We saw even on the test day on Wednesday, 6-hour test. They did bare minimum of laps. They knew the conditions were wet. They knew or they believed at least that the weather conditions were going to get better through the weekend. They didn't want to risk damaging the car in the wet. They didn't want to risk damaging anything at all. So they did a minimum number of laps and then got onto the job yesterday, and they've done a nice job so far in this race. A nice clean stop there for the car number 13.
Now this is a car that can be very, very quick, as it's shown, and I think that it really could do well if it's had a clean run. It looks like there's problems here for the Hankook car.
That's Hankook tyres debut here at Le Mans this year, of course, in that Ferrari, and having a bit of a moment there at the approach. I don't know, maybe left the pit lane entry too late, or maybe just spun coming in. We'll no doubt see on the replay. But at the moment it's Montani leading from there, and he has come into the pits. So I think that's what happened. He just missed the pit lane. It's probably his first time he's ever had to come into the pits.
Probably.
Apart from in the dark.
There is Dominic Farnbacher in the GT2 class leading Hankook car. They've run a very nice pace so far. They are planning on a double stint in the tyre. You can see some damage to the left rear corner on that car. Away goes the car number 89. Not sure whether they changed the driver or not. It was Dominic Farnbacher had been at the wheel before, and I didn't see them change the driver. I must admit I wasn't looking. There was another note meanwhile. Mark Lieb has reported, and Mark, of course, is one of the drivers in the Team Felbermayr Proton car. That car number 77, he shared with Rich Lights and Wolf Hensler. that the reserve pump is not working, and we believe it might simply have run out of fuel, and the reserve pump not working, they weren't able to get it back to the pits, and it looks like their race is over. What a disaster.
God, that is exactly what you do not ever want to happen at Le Mans. I think that is a lot of teams' biggest fear ever, is having something like that happen or just running out of fuel. It seems like such a simple way to lose your entire race, so that is really, really a blow for them.
Right, well, Simon Hill is here and he's champing at the bit, so I'm going to stand down and let Simon take over, and in a few minutes Martin will be coming back as well. So from me, I'll see you all later, and good luck.
Thanks very much indeed, Mark Cole. And yeah, Simon has indeed been pacing up and down like a... well, I don't know like what actually. We'll find out when he's been pacing up and down like in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, look, it's just a super pace that Frank Montagny is setting at the front of the field this Halliday. That gap between first and second, it's now, of course, the Peugeot 1-2 because Marc Genet has got past Mike Rockenfeller. The gap from first to second, 1 minute 54 seconds. It was about 1 minute 45 when they went back to green, when, of course, it was Alan McNish in second place. So those two lead Peugeots running a very similar pace, and it's around about 3 minutes 28 to 3 minutes 30, and the Audis seem to be struggling to get much below 3 minutes 31, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I think what's going to be interesting to see is what happens in the night. We're going to get into the night, we're going to see, you know, the Audi drivers really come to life where they're so good at Le Mans, and also the temperature is going to go down. Maybe we're going to see them speed up a lot. It'll be very interesting to see what sort of times are going on. We're just going to go for a break now. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in a minute.
Welcome back live to Le Mans, where the number 16 Pescarolo is coming down pit lane. Christophe Tanso at the helm. We're going to see the first driver change. We are. Tanso bails out, and the car will take fuel at the same time, then tyres. We'll get down to the Orica team as well, catch up with them. So the Orica team replacing the wing on car number 10. Now the screen told us that it was Stefan Ortelli, and we were saying how unusual it was for such a veteran driver to make the mistake. In fact, as we saw when the car was pushed back in, Jeremy Shaw, it was Bruno Senna who was at the wheel of that car. Now that's perhaps not quite so surprising, but for Senna that's a real little knock in confidence, and that's going to take him another few laps to really trust himself to really wring 11 tenths out of the car.
Yeah, my mistake. I didn't in that case I didn't even look at the driver's helmet. I just presumed the scoring was right, so my apologies for that one, for not spotting that. I guess there's been quite a few transponder problems this week. We saw that in qualifying, so I guess I should learn my lesson, try and pay a bit more closer attention to the helmets rather than just what the timing and scoring says.
Well, with 156 drivers in the race, yeah. 155 drivers in the race, 165, I can't count at all. It is quite hard to know all the helmets. More trouble, and that's for one of the British entries. Nick Leventis at the wheel of the Straka Racing Ginetta Zytek. So just as Mark Cole leaves, his village teammate strikes problem, and they are 17th. Oh, and more trouble. That's the RML OS Noise. That's a racing box Lola Judd. Thomas Biaggi creeping in. Now, Jeremy, everybody played safe on their first pit stops. There was a safety car that might have slightly misled them as well with regard to fuel consumption. I wonder if that's part of the problem. The Straka car running on straight on there. You can almost add your own sound effects there of a wastegate chatter from the driver rather than the engine as he overshot.
008 Aston Martin in the pits there, so that's lap for him, lap 35.
And Darren Turner stays at the wheel. We welcome to the booth Simon Hill. Afternoon, Simon. Don't sit down again. You're working. Stand up again. Simon, it is a bit like a Formula Ford race, the first hour, isn't it? It's absolutely manic.
It's completely crazy, and it's been like this from the start in just about every class, and we don't really know where to look, which is very much like last year. And one of the key things that I think we're going to start to see now is this situation that safety car situation seems to have slightly caught a few people out in terms of strategy. We wonder there, we saw the racing box car coming in slowly. Could that have been a miscalculation on fuel? We heard that the Porsche that had the problem earlier on, Felbermeyer car, seemed to be a problem with the reserve pump. These kind of things could be happening because people are starting to guess a little bit. Lap times can affect that as well. Traffic can affect it. And if you're running marginal, well, remember Frank Bieler back in 2003 lost himself a race win.
And Jeremy, don't forget, because there's so much wet running on Wednesday and only restricted running in the dry on Thursday, they may still not have an absolute fuel consumption figure, and this may be more of a problem as the race goes on.
That is a good... Yeah, that is a good point, Martin, because fuel consumption can be affected by all sorts of different factors. The grip on the track, even the ambient conditions. So you're right. The conditions are so different today to what they were like in qualifying on Thursday. It could be. That's why I'm sure we saw at least the Peugeots come in 1 lap earlier on that first stint than it might otherwise be doing from here on.
Well, I think particularly you're right, and we definitely saw Audi stop a long way short of what we know, and Peugeot a lap short of what we know. They can absolutely do well based on previous assumptions, but of course even the Peugeot is not the same as it was last year. They developed it, they've got more power from the engine, but the wings, the extra weight and so on all help to change that, and even perhaps that 30 kilos of extra weight that the turbo diesels are carrying might just tip the balance that they can't quite do a full lap without really whiskering it, and on the first tank at Le Mans with a limited build-up, you don't want to take that chance.
No, that is not a chance you want to take. And we were talking this morning to a couple of the GT drivers. Mika Salo has a dramatic experience there, of course, and he was telling me they're between 14 and 15 laps they can do on a stint. If they're going flat out with the fuel mixture turned up to full rich, which is basically more fuel, less air, more horsepower, less fuel consumption, they can do about 14 laps. If they tweak the engine, 14 laps. If you tweak the engine back a bit on the mixture, have a bit more air to fuel ratio, then they can stretch it out to 15 laps. So it's all one of the things that they can play with. They do have a fuel adjustment within the car that the drivers can play with. But I'm expecting the leaders to be on pit lane any time now.
We saw the Racing Box Lola, incidentally, creeping into the pit lane relatively slowly. We did see a couple of cars running over a bit of debris. Apparently the Racing Box car was hit by Alan McNish, who's got a bit of damage to the front of the nose, as well as whatever that was that he picked up earlier on. So quick inspection, that the Lola is back out on track as we ride in second place with Marc Genet, and between the two Peugeots, well, there's about half a lap a minute or so, I suppose. So not quite a half a lap, that's about a quarter of a lap between the two of them, but certainly at the moment Montagny in the number 8 car, Simon, has got the legs on anyone in the field, and you need to be blessed in this race as well. So far he's had a bit of a Teflon coating when it comes to trouble.
Well, I think he's obviously taken the lion's share of the luck, if you pardon the pun, so therefore he's got himself in a situation now he's got to make the most of it. These guys are F1 drivers essentially. They are able to push that hard for that long, and that in itself can affect it. Last year I heard that Nick Manassian has a slightly different brake and throttle technique to the guys, and that can get him slightly more fuel consumption out of the car. A lot of the drivers left foot brake, as many racing drivers do now. Nick prefers to right foot brake, gave him a little bit of a better advantage in terms of fuel consumption. Right on board now with the 7 car, and you can see that the pace is clearly in all of the Peugeots still, even though the trouble's hit them.
Yeah, he's having quite a battle there with that's Alexandre Premat in car number 3 Audi, which is a couple of laps down from the race leader. They're having a good little battle or so here.
Well, Manassian, of course, is even further back, so he's trying to unlap himself a little bit on Prema. But for the cars that are delayed, and we're looking here at the Peugeot and the Audi, both delayed, there is now absolutely nothing left to fear. The worst has happened. You just have to drill the car for every millimetre of the remaining race. Let's hear from the pits, Stefan Ortelli.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé avec la voiture et toi?
What happened with the car, Stefan?
Je pense que j'ai touché la ligne blanche avant le braquage.
I think I made a mistake. He was in the car. I touched a white line, says Stefan. And you can't do that here. So it's a silly mistake, put us in big difficulties. I think I crossed the white line and the car got away from me. It's my mistake though.
Aussi le battre avec le Aston Martin, les Aston Martin sont trop vite.
On verra dans 20 heures si on se bat avec eux.
It's the battle with Aston Martin pushing. Are you pushing to the limit? So well, it's the beginning of the race, but yes, everybody's a little tense.
Merci bien.
But unfortunately, just my mistake. Well, you know what? He's putting his hands up to that. Bruno Senna seemed to be in the car when he was pushed back into the garage, so although I hadn't seen it, they obviously had affected the driver change when Ortelli stopped and they fueled the car, which they always do before they repair any work. Race leader continues in the Peugeot, and Alan McNish in 4th place pits now, having completed 37 laps of the race. Jeremy is counting out when he last came in. Car number 1 last came in on 25 laps, so he's done just 12 We know the Audi can do 13, and we suspect possibly might even squeeze to 14.
Yeah, well, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Because this time around, Frank Montagny is on lap 38 now. His last pit stop was on lap 25, so he is certainly stretching that out.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting. We've always felt in the past that Audi, when they needed something, might just have had a little bit extra in fuel consumption. Now they're going to need every single iota of performance, whatever it is, whether it's speed, grip, cornering, braking or fuel consumption. Simon, you can't keep anything in the tank. Last year showed us that. There are no margins for error, not in this battle of the Titans.
And also let's think back to Sebring, which is the last time, the only time these two cars have gone head-to-head this year, and just how close that finish was. The standard of the drivers has been unquestionable. We know about the pace. Stefan Sarrazin is a superstar, as we've seen in terms of qualifying, as are, of course, all the top Audi drivers. However, the key thing also now is this thing that you were mentioning earlier, Martin, how Peugeot have upped their game off track, although we've seen a few things haven't quite gone to plan.
Well, Jeremy, interesting here that the Peugeot has run longer.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's got to be not a good sign for Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich and the Audi team, because up until now, we've generally seen the Audis go farther on the fuel stint than the Peugeots. This time around, though, not the case.
One thing you mentioned earlier about when you were talking to the Ferrari drivers, the GT guys, about changing the fuel mix. Maybe that's what Audi have had to do. We're going to take a short break here on Eurosport. Join us for more action from Le Mans in a few moments.